In the late 1960s, America was already on edge with protests and chaos in the air. The Manson family, led by Charles Manson, believed murder sparked revolution. On August 8, 1969, the Manson family committed horrific murders at Cielo Drive. Sharon Tate and her friends were brutally attacked, leaving behind chilling messages. The next night, Manson's followers attacked Leno and Rosemary LaBianca. Manson aimed to incite a race war called Helter Skelter, believing chaos would elevate him. Instead of revolution, the murders led to widespread fear throughout America. The Manson family was arrested, with Manson receiving a life sentence. The Manson murders are a haunting reminder of manipulation and violence.
In the late 1960s, America was living through one of the most chaotic decades in modern history. The Vietnam War was raging, protests filled the streets, and the counterculture movement was rewriting the rules of society. But even with all that turmoil, nothing shook the nation like the murders committed by a cult that called themselves the Manson Family. The story begins with Charles Manson, a small-time criminal who reinvented himself as a spiritual guru. He gathered a group of mostly young followers who were searching for meaning, acceptance, or just a place to belong. Manson promised them freedom, purpose, and a new way of life. But behind the scenes, he was twisting their minds with drugs, manipulation, and fear. By the summer of 1969, he controlled them completely. The most infamous murder took place on the night of August 8th, when 4 members of the Manson family drove to a house on Cielo Drive in Los Angeles. Inside that home was actress Sharon Tate, who was 8 months pregnant, along with Jay Sebring, Abigail Folger, Wojtek Frykowski, and Stephen Parent. The people inside had no idea that strangers were about to enter their home and destroy their lives. What happened inside that house remains one of the most horrifying crimes in American history. The victims were brutally attacked, and the killers left behind messages scrawled in blood, meant to shock and terrify the world. But the violence didn't end there. The following night, Manson decided to show them how it's done, and personally accompanied his followers to another home, although he left before the killing began. The targets were Leno and Rosemary LaBianca, a married couple who lived miles away from the first crime scene and had no connection whatsoever to the victims on Cielo Drive. The killers tied them up, stabbed them repeatedly, and once again wrote disturbing words on the walls. The randomness of the victims made the crimes even more terrifying. If a peaceful couple in their own home could be targeted, anyone could be next. Why did Manson send his followers to kill? He believed he was starting a race war he called Helter Skelter, a phrase he stole from a Beatles song. In his twisted imagination, these murders would trigger chaos between racial groups, and when the dust settled, he and his followers would rise as leaders of a new world. It was delusional, it was dangerous, and tragically, it convinced his followers to take innocent lives. The investigation took months, but eventually, police connected the murders to the Manson family. The trials were surreal, filled with bizarre behavior, chants, carved symbols, and chilling confessions from some of the family members. Manson and his followers were sentenced to death. But in 1972, California abolished the death penalty, and their sentences were automatically changed to life in prison. That's what it means when people say the murders were commuted. The killers didn't escape punishment, but execution was taken off the table. Even today, the Manson murders mark the moment the innocents of the 60s officially died. It was the end of the peace and love era and the beginning of a darker, more suspicious time. People started locking their doors. Hollywood stars hired security, and the entire country realized that evil doesn't always look like a monster. Sometimes it looks like a man who convinces others to follow him straight into darkness. The murders committed by the Manson family remain one of the most chilling reminders of how powerful manipulation can be, how dangerous blind loyalty becomes, and how quickly a charismatic leader can turn hope into horror. Decades later, we still talk about them because they weren't just crimes, they were warnings. Warnings about control, warnings about fear, and warnings about what can happen when one man's nightmare becomes someone else's reality.